Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went there? Or you're talking to someone and mid-sentence the word you wanted just vanishes? Or maybe some mornings your head feels heavy, foggy, like you're thinking through cotton wool. You are not broken, you are not losing it, and you're definitely not alone. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this happens. What's going on inside your skull when your memory fails you, when brain fog hits, and when you genuinely need to worry versus when it's just being human. No medical degree needed, no confusing terms, just your brain. Explain like a friend would explain it to you. Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's build a simple picture in your head. Your brain is about the size of two clenched fists put together. It weighs about 1.4 kilograms, roughly 3 pounds. That's it. That small jelly-like organ sitting inside your skull is running everything. Your heartbeat, your breathing, your emotions, your ability to recognize your mother's face, your ability to learn a new language, all of it. Here's the picture I want you to hold on to for this whole video. Think of your brain like a massive city, and thoughts are like electricity running through power lines. Inside that city, you have around 86 billion tiny workers. These are called neurons, brain cells. Each neuron doesn't work alone. It connects to thousands of other neurons, like wires connecting houses to each other. When you think, remember, feel, or move, it's because these neurons are sending tiny electrical signals to each other at incredible speed. We're talking about signals traveling at up to 268 miles per hour inside your head right now as you listen to this. Now here's the important part. Your brain isn't one single blob doing one single job. It has departments, like a company has departments. Let me introduce you to the main ones quickly because you'll need these later. The front of your brain, right behind your forehead, this is your decision maker. It handles planning, focus, willpower, and personality. Scientists call this the prefrontal cortex, but just think of it as your brain's CEO office. Deep in the middle of your brain, there's a small, curved structure shaped like a seahorse. It's literally named after the Greek word for seahorse. It's called the hippocampus. This is your brain's filing department. This is where new memories get created and sorted before being stored long term. Remember this word, hippocampus, because we're coming back to it big time when we talk about memory loss. And then there's your amygdala, a small almond-shaped part that handles fear, stress, and emotional reactions. This one matters a lot for brain fog, which we'll get to. So to recap the picture, 86 billion workers sending electrical signals organized into departments, a CEO office up front, a filing department in the middle, and an emotional alarm system nearby. Keep this picture in your mind. Everything else builds on top of it. Let's talk about memory, because this is what most of us actually care about. Here's a simple truth. Memory is not one single thing. It's a process with 3 stages. Think of it like sending a letter. Stage 1 is encoding. This is writing the letter. When something happens to you, you meet someone new, you read something, you experience something, your brain has to convert that experience into a signal it can store. This happens through your senses feeding information into the hippocampus, our filing department. Stage 2 is storage. This is putting the letter in the mailbox. The information gets tucked away somewhere in your brain for later use. Stage 3 is retrieval. This is the letter being delivered. When you try to remember something, your brain is going out, finding that stored information, and bringing it back to your conscious mind. Now here's the thing most people don't know. Your memory failing can happen at any of these 3 stages, and each one feels different. Sometimes you fail to encode something in the first place. This is why you forget where you put your keys. You weren't paying attention when you put them down, so your brain never wrote that letter at all. This isn't memory loss. This is called inattentional forgetting. You literally never stored it because you weren't focused. Sometimes the information is stored, but retrieval fails. This is the tip of my tongue feeling. You know that you know it. The letter exists, but you can't find the mailbox right now. Usually it comes back to you later, often when you're not even trying, like in the shower or while falling asleep. That's completely normal and happens to everyone, at every age. Now let's talk about the 2 types of memory storage, because this is where short-term memory loss comes from as a phrase. Short-term memory, also called working memory, is like a small whiteboard in your brain. It can only hold a handful of things at once for about 15 to 30 seconds, unless you actively repeat it. Think about when someone tells you a phone number and you repeat it in your head until you can write it down. That's your whiteboard in action. It's small on purpose. Your brain doesn't want to clutter itself with useless information. Long-term memory is different. It's like a massive archive room with unlimited shelf space. Once information makes it here, it can last for years, even a lifetime. So how does something move from the small whiteboard to the giant archive room? Two words: repetition and emotion. If you repeat information, like studying for an exam, your brain physically strengthens the connections between neurons involved in that memory. Neuroscientists have a saying for this: neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you recall something, that pathway gets a little stronger, like a dirt path turning into a paved road the more people walk on it. Emotion works even faster. Ever notice you remember exactly where you were during a shocking or emotional event, but you can't remember what you had for lunch 3 days ago? That's because your amygdala, remember, the emotional alarm system, tags emotional events as important and pushes them straight into long-term storage, skipping a lot of the usual repetition needed. This is actually really useful information for you personally. If you want to remember something, attach emotion or story to it and repeat it. That's genuinely the two biggest levers you have. Let's talk about everyday forgetting, because I guarantee most of what worries people is completely normal. Reason 1, you never actually paid attention. We touched on this. If you're distracted while something happens, your brain doesn't encode it properly. You didn't forget your colleague's name. You never truly absorbed it in the first place because you were thinking about something else during the introduction. Reason 2, sleep. This one is huge, and most people underestimate it completely. During deep sleep, your brain runs something like a nightly maintenance crew. It takes the day's experiences sitting in short-term storage and moves the important ones into long-term storage. This process even has a name: memory consolidation. If you don't get enough deep sleep, this transfer process gets interrupted, so even things you did pay attention to during the day don't get properly filed away. This is one of the single biggest causes of bad memory in otherwise healthy people. Not a brain problem, a sleep problem. Reason 3, stress and cortisol. When you're stressed, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. In small doses, cortisol actually helps memory. It's why you remember stressful events vividly. But chronic ongoing stress is different. Long-term high cortisol levels have been shown to actually shrink activity in the hippocampus, our filing department, making it harder to form new memories and easier to feel scattered. This is a huge contributor to what people call brain fog, which we're about to dive into properly. Reason 4, multitasking. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Your brain does not actually multitask. What feels like multitasking is your brain rapidly switching attention back and forth between tasks, and every switch has a small cost. Scientists call this task switching cost. Every time you switch from your phone to a conversation to a work task, back to your phone, your encoding quality for all of it drops. This is why people who are constantly on their phones during conversations often can't remember what was discussed. It's not memory loss. It's memory that was never properly recorded because attention was split. Reason 5, age. Yes, memory does naturally change with age, and this is normal, not necessarily a disease. Processing speed slows down slightly, and retrieval, remember, that's finding the letter in the mailbox, takes a bit longer. This is why older adults might take a moment longer to recall a name, but usually get there eventually. Normal age-related change is slower retrieval, not lost information. We'll talk about when it becomes something more serious in a moment. So if you take one thing from this section, most forgetting is not your brain failing. It's usually poor attention, poor sleep, high stress, or task switching. All 4 of these are fixable. Let's talk about brain fog properly, because this term gets used a lot, but rarely explained. Brain fog isn't a medical diagnosis by itself. It's a description of a group of symptoms. People describe it as feeling mentally slow, having trouble concentrating, feeling confused, struggling to find words, or feeling like you're thinking through a fog, hence the name. Here's what's actually happening in your brain during brain fog, broken into the most common causes. Cause 1, poor sleep quality. We already covered this, but it's worth repeating because it's the single most common cause of brain fog. Without proper deep sleep, waste products actually build up in your brain. Your brain has a cleaning system called the glymphatic system that flushes out metabolic waste, mainly during deep sleep. Skip good sleep repeatedly, and this waste builds up, literally clouding neural communication. That fogginess you feel isn't just a metaphor. There's a physical basis to it. Cause 2, blood sugar swings. Your brain runs almost entirely on glucose, sugar, for fuel. When your blood sugar spikes and crashes, say, after a sugary breakfast, Your brain experiences an energy crash right along with your body. This is why people feel foggy and sluggish an hour or two after a heavy carb-loaded meal. Cause 3. Dehydration. Your brain is about 75% water. Even mild dehydration, as little as 2% fluid loss, has been shown in studies to measurably reduce concentration and short-term memory performance. This is one of the easiest fixes on this entire list. Cause 4. Chronic stress and cortisol. As mentioned, sustained high stress interferes with the hippocampus's ability to file new information properly, which feels exactly like fog. You're taking things in, but they're not sticking. Cause 5. Inflammation. This is a newer area of research, but a compelling one. Illnesses, certain autoimmune conditions, and even long-term effects of viral infections have been linked to brain fog, likely through low-grade inflammation affecting how neurons communicate. This is part of why long COVID became strongly associated with brain fog symptoms in medical research. Cause 6. Hormonal changes. Pregnancy, menopause, and thyroid conditions are all commonly linked with brain fog, largely because hormones like estrogen directly affect neurotransmitter activity involved in focus and memory. Cause 7. Certain medications. Some medications, particularly certain antihistamines, sleep aids, and anti-anxiety medications, list cognitive fog as a documented side effect. Here's the reassuring part. For the vast majority of people, brain fog is a symptom of an underlying fixable pattern, not permanent brain damage. Fix the sleep, stabilize the blood sugar, manage the stress, stay hydrated, and fog usually lifts significantly within weeks. Now, I want to handle this next part carefully and honestly, because I know some of you are watching this because you're genuinely worried about yourself or about a parent or loved one. Let's separate normal forgetting from warning signs, because the difference actually matters, and doctors use fairly clear markers for this. Normal, everyday forgetting looks like this: forgetting where you put your keys, but retracing your steps and finding them; forgetting a name, but recognizing the person and recalling it later; occasionally walking into a room and forgetting why, and then remembering once you sit back down; needing a bit longer to recall things as you get older. Signs that are worth discussing with a doctor include forgetting things that were just told to you repeatedly within the same conversation; getting lost in extremely familiar places, like your own neighborhood; difficulty following a conversation or a simple set of steps, like a recipe you've made 100 times; noticeable personality or mood changes alongside memory issues; trouble managing familiar tasks, like paying bills or following a routine that used to be automatic. The key difference doctors look for isn't really forgetting itself. Everyone forgets. It's whether the forgetting is progressively getting worse over months and whether it's starting to interfere with daily independent living. I want to be really clear here. I am not a doctor, and this video is not a diagnosis tool. If you or someone you love is showing these warning patterns, please see a medical professional. A neurologist or your regular doctor can run proper cognitive assessments. Early evaluation genuinely makes a difference, both for treatable causes of memory issues, like vitamin deficiencies or thyroid problems, which are surprisingly common causes, and for conditions like dementia, where early management improves quality of life significantly. The single most important message I can give you in this section is, don't self-diagnose off a video, and don't panic over normal forgetfulness, but don't ignore a genuine worsening pattern either. All right, let's end with something practical, because I don't want to just explain the problem, I want to give you real tools. 1. Protect your sleep like it's a job. 7 to 9 hours, consistent bedtime. This single habit does more for memory and mental clarity than almost anything else on this list. 2. Move your body. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain and has been shown to actually stimulate the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus. Yes, your brain can grow new filing department cells, especially through regular aerobic activity like walking or running. 3. Single task. Don't multitask. When something matters, give it your full attention. Put the phone away during important conversations. Remember, you can't forget what you never properly recorded. 4. Use repetition and emotion deliberately. If you need to remember something, repeat it out loud, connect it to a story, or explain it to someone else. Teaching something to another person is one of the most powerful memory tools that exists. 5. Stay hydrated and stabilize your blood sugar. Balanced meals with protein and fiber instead of sugar spikes will noticeably reduce that afternoon fog feeling. 6. Manage stress actively. Even 10 minutes of daily breathing exercises, meditation, or simply time outdoors has been shown to lower cortisol levels meaningfully over a few weeks. 7. Challenge your brain regularly. Learning new skills, a language, an instrument, even a new route to work builds new neural connections. Your brain, unlike most organs, actually improves with the right kind of use throughout your entire life. This is called neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections at any age. So let's bring it all together. Your brain is a city of 86 billion workers, sending signals to each other every single second. Memory isn't one thing. It's encoding, storage, and retrieval. And most forgetting is really a failure of attention, sleep, or stress, not a broken brain. Brain fog is real, physical, and for most people, completely reversible once you address sleep, blood sugar, hydration, and stress. And true concerning memory loss has clear patterns that are worth a doctor's attention, but that's different from the completely normal forgetfulness we all experience. If this helped you understand your own brain a little better, do me a favor, hit subscribe, because next week we're going deeper into a related topic. Thanks for watching, and take care of that brain of yours. It's the only one you've got.